At the turn of the 20th century, the black-footed ferret population was thriving. But as the years passed, their numbers began a rapid descent all the way down to zero. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. On September 26, 1981, in the small town of Meeteetse, Wyoming, cattle rancher John Hogg and his wife Lucille were awakened in the early morning hours by their dog Shep, who was aggressively barking outside the house. When John went to investigate the next morning, he discovered an animal carcass unlike any that he had seen before. A taxidermist inspection in the following days would reveal what Hogg didn't know. They had just stumbled upon the last remaining black-footed ferret population in existence. While doing our research on the black-footed ferret, we realized there was only two near us, one of which was at the Topeka Zoo. We quickly got in touch with the zoo, after which they invited us out to see their black-footed ferret and answer our questions. We agreed upon a date and were on our way to Topeka. Upon arrival, we were greeted by the staff and taken behind the scenes to the habitat. In this area, we had the opportunity to meet Olive, their 4-year-old black-footed ferret. Olive is from the National Black-Footed Ferret Conservation Center in Carr, Colorado. This facility, established in 1996, is owned by the Fish and Wildlife Services and is responsible for all black-footed ferret breeding and caretaking. This small population makes the black-footed ferret the second most endangered species in North America. Outside of the breeding center, there is also a small population that lives in the wild.
And the species truly is one of those on-the-brink species. You've heard of species being on the brink of extinction. They truly are one of those. There are probably about 400 black-footed ferrets alive in the wild across all of the release sites, from Canada to Mexico, all points in between. 400 is a very small genetic number.
Black-footed ferrets play a crucial role in their ecosystem, ensuring that the balance is maintained.
So black-footed ferrets are what we call keystone species. Basically what that means is that if a black-footed ferret or a keystone species goes extinct, that means the entire food chain is completely interrupted and can be basically fallen apart and will ruin that habitat. So prairie dogs, there's the grass, and there's prairie dogs, and there's black-footed ferrets, and there's all the other animals that fall in line to create this perfect ecosystem. And so whenever they're not there, it messes it all up.
When black-footed ferrets reach their maturity level, they are put through tests to see if they are fit for the wild. If they pass these tests, they are taken to a reintroduction site.
The reintroduction sites had to be sites that were large enough and had prairie dog towns on them large enough to provide food, since the vast majority of black-footed ferrets' food is just prairie dogs.
In order to keep track of black-footed ferret population in the wild, annual surveys are conducted.
So what happens then is that once a year we go out in the fall when the time is right, and we plan that around things like a full moon so that you can see where you're driving, because you're crisscrossing 2,000, 3,000 acres per night of this 10,000 acre range looking for black-footed ferrets to see if they're surviving, to see if they're still there, to see if they're reproducing, to see what's happening with them, because the aim, of course, is to introduce them into the natural environment as part of the natural environment.
However, that natural environment is being challenged by ongoing controversial regulations on prairie dogs.
There is a law on the books that if you have prairie dogs on your property, you are required by law in the state of Kansas to poison them out or eradicate them in any way you can to eliminate them.
These laws have had a detrimental impact on the black-footed ferret population, drastically limiting the growth of the species.
The greatest thing that can be done is that we can raise the level of awareness across the entire Kansas community about why these animals are important. First, they're important because they are wild species that were here before we were here. And so they have a right to exist. They have a certain right to exist that we can't deny, and yet through human interaction, we're routinely denying it.